and welcome to this episode of Trader Talk TV. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Alex Howell from Pixels. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you.
Great to have you here.
Thank you very much.
And
great to be here.
It's great, yeah, of course. The topic today is vertical video. Now, obviously, vertical video, fairly obvious what it is. TikTokification of the web means that we're kind of aware of what that looks like and what it means, but we're going to delve into kind of the advantage of that kind of outside the walled gardens, what it looks like kind of on the open web. Before we kick off, give us a little bit of an intro into what Pixels is and does.
Great, thank you. So my name is Alex, co-founder, CEO of Pixels. Pixels is a video infrastructure business. We use data and AI to improve customer engagement, and we're focused on specifically vertical video for the web. We've been trying to solve a problem at the moment where video on the web is fundamentally changing. Google have released new policies this year, which has shaken up the industry, which means that we've seen video revenues declining for what we call landscape video on the web. Let me just try and frame that quickly here. So if we look at video ad revenue across the web here, 2023 was a pretty good year, 2024, 2025, and on the web it's done something like that. So it's starting to come down. The reasons for this is because engagement isn't particularly good. We've kind of used and abused video a lot on the web. You'll see here that we've got predominantly on the web side, landscape video, where 80% of traffic is actually mobile. A lot of this video isn't actually relevant to a page, it's used as a vehicle for an ad. And Google and the agencies are starting to wise up to that, and it looks like things are going to start to go like that if we don't do something about it. Whereas on the flip side, and this is what we're seeing within the walled garden, so on social, video short form ad revenue spend is going like that. And just to put that into context, between 2023 2024, that's something like an $11 billion growth from year on year. So Pixels, as a video infrastructure business, has really doubled down on vertical video, and that totally changes things, right? So whereas on the web you put it like this, on walled gardens video is like that. Why is that important? Well, 80% of traffic is going to a mobile device. So that means that engagement is far better in the walled gardens because it's much more format friendly for mobile. And so what Pixels is doing is trying to bring this format to the web. And what we're looking to see is a nice growth in revenues as a result of doing that. And another reason for that, and I think this bit is quite telling, is that the abuse of video and this kind of letterbox format, by doing quite literally a pivot and making the format like this on mobile, on the web, we're able to distribute video across all web pages, as opposed to what we're seeing as relevant video, 20% of pages on the web. So you're getting an increase in distribution, but that requires the use of things like data and AI to be much more informed about how we do that. So this is kind of the picture that's unfolding, and we're looking to bring the formats in vertical video across specific networks like sport, gaming, etc., where we know that there's really good customer engagement.
So this all makes perfect sense. It seems so obvious when you map it out, especially when you map out the fact that 80% of these views, landscape video views, are on mobile. Mm-hmm. I hate to use the phrase the year of the mobile, but we have talked about it for what feels like 2 decades. Yeah. Given that it's been the mobile for 2 decades, why is it that we've got it right with the walled gardens and we haven't got it right on the open web when it comes to actually engagement of mobile ad formats and mobile video?
Yeah, great question. And I think what sits at the cornerstone of that is the fact that on the web we have used and abused videos. So we haven't focused on user engagement, we haven't focused on the content, we've just focused on the fact that it is a different format and that it can appear on lots of pages, relevant or irrelevant to the web page itself. And that leads to users not really paying attention to what's going on and not really getting the format right. And another reason is a lot of the web publishers aren't video-first web publishers. You know, a lot of them have started with print, and so, you know, they're very good at writing content. They're very good at publishing video to other channels, but onto their own website, it's another task, it's another thing that needs to be done where resources aren't necessarily abundant in that area. That means that you get this 20% uptake roughly across the data that we see on premium publishers of relevant video onto their pages. So there's a number of different problems at play, and I think if we're able to solve the problem of distributing relevant video in the right format to the right device, then I think you know, it totally changes the game in terms of what video engagement can look like. And if you start with the product first, if you get the video engagement right, what follows next will be the kind of the increase in revenues that we're seeing.
Absolutely. I mean, you've already touched on it when talking about the fact that you see 20% higher engagement on the video ad format. Talk to me about the buy side and what the benefits are, broad benefits are for advertisers in switching to vertical video.
Sure. I think the primary advantage that we've seen on the buy side and the things that they're really excited about is being able to advertise against premium content. They get so much UGC content on social,
right, of course,
and you don't know where that's going to appear on the news feed. Here we're talking about premium publishers whose job it is to create great content. They've got their own websites, they're in control of how those websites are put together. They can ensure that the video is placed at the right point at the right time, and the agencies love the fact that they're finally able to get better engagement and better attention through the use of much higher quality content. And I think we quite often forget that content is a very important part of this whole mix. And by content, I obviously mean editorial content is a really important part of this mix. So I think that's been really important. Let me just sketch out quickly kind of what the kind of core pillars are. So I think we've talked about this kind of bringing together a format that works for the web as opposed to for social. We're calling it V-Roll at Pixels. And so that really is the vertical video format for the web. The way in which we do this, if you've got the web here and you've got the walled gardens here, gardens here, then publishers will have a lot of content over here that's already in vertical format, and you know the walled gardens are doing very well from that. What Pixels is doing is it's taking the vertical video content that premium publishers are already publishing, and we are bringing it over here onto the web. So this piece here is content. Then that's the first of the pillars. We are a video infrastructure business. So this is the infrastructure here. And that's everything like streaming, that's all of the different encoding, that's ensuring that the content is in the right format to stream. But then at the core of what we do is AI and data. And the reason why that is so important is because of the low uptake of video at the moment in landscape format. What this allows us to do is be really intelligent about the way in which we deliver video onto a publisher's page to ensure that it is relevant, it is timely, it is set against a trending article agenda so that it's relevant for that specific publisher. And going back to why the buy side love this so much, it's because the content is relevant to the publisher and that it also mirrors what the news agenda of that publisher is. And that's really important. And I think, you know, with this formula here, being able to take the premium content and push it into the publisher's own website where you're much more in control we're also able to use this data and AI to be really informed about content that needs to be created as well. So there's a Pixel Studio which supports publishers in publishing the most relevant content to the pages that are trending at any given time. So you can be really intelligent with the way in which you use data and AI at the core of the business, where the streaming and the infrastructure almost become a commodity, and the really intelligent bit is the way in which the two interplay here.
And aside from obviously it being obvious that there is an opportunity for publishers to be able to take back control of their content and not have to publish so much within the walled gardens, what are the other benefits for the sell side?
So for the sell side, it's very simple. It's revenue.
Yeah.
That's a really kind of compelling reason, I think, to take what they've already got and use it on their own website, take back control and earn more revenue as a result. We're already seeing that yields for vertical video on the web, so if this is web and this is walled gardens and this is mobile, we're already seeing that by changing the format here from landscape to vertical, we're doubling the yields already. So
that's significant.
Which is a significant uptick when publishers are currently looking at a trajectory like that. Being able to go like this, requires being a bit more creative and intelligent about the way in which video is distributed, and doing it in vertical format has, real advantages for both the buy and the sell side. And I think it's probably worth outlining that, on the publisher side, as you were saying, revenue is obviously a key. Distribution is also key, so they don't need to hire more resources to distribute what they've already got. They can lean on Pixel Studio where there's not the relevant content that they need, and they can reuse a lot of their assets over here. And they can obviously stream it as well. But what we've found is it's not just about innovating with tech, it's also about innovating with the business model. And actually the business model itself needs to be supportive of publishers at a time when yields are declining, revenues are declining. And so it's important that the streaming costs aren't seen as a cost on the balance sheet for a publisher, but we're able to bring the advertising to them. And that brings us nicely onto the buy side. So for agencies, we've talked about the premium content, so they get to do it they get to advertise against premium content, but they also are able to hang their hat on two really important things. So here, so attention and sustainability. So these are the other two bits, and one leads to the other.
Absolutely.
Right.
There's much less wastage if you can track what's happening on the attention side of things. I did have a question about measurement, and obviously you mentioned the increased yields of publishers, you mentioned the increased engagement for advertisers and agencies. What should they be looking at when it comes to measuring the efficacy of this? And obviously there's a quality argument here too. You've brought up quality a few times in terms of the distribution, kind of who you're targeting, who the audience is, the content you are appearing against. The quality of the video, I'm assuming, is very important here as well.
Yes.
Like, how does that all feed into how they're tracking the success of this?
Absolutely, and it all comes down to what is at the core of what we do, which is consumer engagement, right? So that is how we work back any of these equations. And so if you take something like attention, the engagement is much better because people are paying much more attention to it. But that can also be measured by things like completion rates. If the ad completion rates are higher or the video completion rates are higher, it's evidence that the engagement is better. So there are a number of different ways in which we give agencies the tools to prove that the engagement is far better by doing it in this format versus doing it in this format here. And whilst it might be intuitive, it also needs to be measured and proven. And I think that's where we've spent the last 6 months working with a number of independent agencies and a couple of the bigger holdco agencies to find out how they measure video at the moment, and we need to be working within the currency, if you like, that they understand and work with. And so you need to break these down quite carefully in different ways for different agencies and different brands to ensure that everyone is comfortable with the fact that the engagement is far better from doing it in a vertical format, and that V-roll is a far more compelling format to the existing web formats that they're used to.
Interesting. And I'm assuming there is a big test and learn aspect to this as well, because there is not much evidence of vertical video on the open web versus the amount that there is in social media platforms. It's understanding kind of, you know, when it takes up the entire screen of content of an article I'm trying to read, don't like overwhelm them with a really, really long video or with something that they don't understand. Like, because if they want to try and escape it, you know, I'm assuming there must be some work being done there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really important point. And I think we found that, you know, basic things like the length of the video is really important. You know, YouTube got it right by calling it shorts. You know, the shorter video format is more engaging, does drive, you know, better engagement as a result of that. And we see that by limiting the length of the video, it actually forces the publisher into creating videos that are of a different nature to what they're used to doing in this way. Often this is taken from broadcast, or it's taken from formats where, you know, the actual user kind of proposition is different, if you like.
Of course.
Whereas here, you know, we're actually forcing a bit of a reformat, and a lot of that is done programmatically using the AI and the data here to ensure that the length of the video and the clipping of the video is optimized. So that's a big part of what the platform does. But ultimately, it's about getting it into a format that is short, engaging, compelling, and as relevant to the page as possible.
Yeah.
And that, again, comes down to the data piece. How can you find and match? If it's not an exact match, how do you then look at other indicators, things like topics, things like entities? So it might be specific people, specific places, specific whatever it might be, and that really ends up you know, coming back to how do you drive the best engagement, and then how do you measure it for the agencies to ensure that they're comfortable with that.
Yeah. So interesting. I mean, thank you so much for coming in, Alex, and explaining more about pixels and about V-roll and the general vertical video landscape. I look forward to engaging with far more vertical videos on mobile from now on.
Very good.
Thank you very much for coming in, and thank you for watching Spin Trade Talk TV, and we'll see you next time.